Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, what's going on?
I don't know.
I'm Scott.
I'm John.
And we're married. This is the Sweet Tea No Shade podcast. I think it's episode 8.
Sure. I think that sounds right.
So, it's a knitting podcast. In case you thought it was like a race car podcast or a taxidermy podcast. We could taxidermy our cats.
I don't think there's enough stuffing in the world.
we could have little demonstrations. No, just kidding. So we have an interesting podcast today in that we don't have a whole lot of our own knitting because we haven't gotten very far with our own knitting. Oh, here comes Linus. So we've got notes because I feel better when we do notes. Do you have anything going on that you want to talk about?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
Yes. This is my library story. My library story.
Okay.
So yesterday, I volunteered. We have a local Hennepin County library at our end of our block, and they have every couple of months they have a used book sale. And so I was working the register, selling books for really cheap prices. And the other volunteer was also a knitter. So we hung out and we looked at this really huge coffee table book called Tudor Roses, which is by an author. Let me look really quick. Her name is Alice Starmore.
Oh, Alice Starmore. That's the book I told you about. And you didn't take that book?
No.
Did somebody buy it?
No, I think it's still there.
Oh my god. I was going to buy that book. The one that you made fun of everything in. Go ahead, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was Alice Starmore's book. Okay, go ahead.
It's like a bunch of it's like 14 really extravagant knitted patterns based on the women of the Tudor dynasty and the 6 wives of Henry VIII.
Yes.
So it's like we were looking at the patterns and being like, oh my god, this is the most because they're super complicated.
Yeah.
Like it's stitches you don't even. Everything had to be steeked.
That's where you knit it in. I think it's where you knit it in the round
and then cut it.
The middle, yeah.
So we're just looking at the patterns, going like, "Oh my god, this looks so impossible."
Okay, how do you spell steeked? Because I don't actually know.
Steek.
Oh, okay.
Steak with 2 E's.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
But anyway, it was super fun, and it was a really fun example of how if you find someone who knits, you can just talk about knitting for hours.
But that's not what you told me about that book when you first told me the story.
Well, I mean, what did I tell you about this?
You were both like, oh my god, nobody had ever knit that. Oh my god, nobody had ever knit that.
Well, they're really hard. The patterns were 27 pages long with it wasn't brioche because I don't think brioche existed when she made it, but it was they were all super complicated, super you would never make any of that stuff unless you were a master knitter.
Yeah.
So it's basically it's like knitting pornography.
Well, the reason I knew about the book was because that podcast that I like to watch, Fruity Knitting, with the Australian people that live in Germany, she's done Alice Starmore.
Of course she has.
No wonder she has Terrace Elbow or whatever.
I know, they're beautiful.
I think in the very first Fruity Knitting episode, she's got an Alice Starmore design on.
Yeah, I mean
I'll show you an episode.
They are gorgeous patterns, but they're inhuman.
It's so interesting. So, okay, we have to figure out how to get that book.
Because I should totally grab it. I know exactly where it is in the. So if I know, you get 2 free books.
Yeah.
And
for volunteering.
I got 1, so I'm still owed a book. And I figure if I get a book that you want, I don't get yelled at for taking it, right?
Oh yeah. Okay, awesome. That's so funny that's that book. Okay, I'm sorry. I've got a wet spot on my shirt and it's driving me crazy.
Oh yeah, that's...
It's just...
It looks like you drooled on yourself.
I think that I'm sweating through the shirt because I'm a little warm, but I think I spilled tea.
I think you spilled tea.
I spilled some sweet tea on my shirt. This is the Sweet Tea No Shade podcast.
So if you don't... Yeah. It's also not a tea podcast.
No tea, or it's sweet tea. You mean about tea leaves tea?
Yeah, about tea. I'm sure there's tea podcasts out there where they sit and drink tea all the time.
Well, there's podcasts where people review teas. I've seen that.
Really?
Yeah. There's a guy
That sounds kind of fascinating.
Well, he like reviews teas and candles, and I forget. I don't think he does knitting. It's a podcast, or it's a YouTube show that my mom watches. Biddy Ann. Biddy Ann's my mom. Where you'll hear reference to her a lot. So anyway, yeah. So the other thing to mention, just kind of introduction, what's going on with us stuff. It's first of all, there's like here we go.
Oh God.
There's like here comes the dinosaur cat. What was I gonna talk? What was I gonna say?
The retreat?
Well, I was gonna talk about the retreat, but it's like we're having like random heat wave at the beginning of fall here in Minnesota, which is odd. But the retreat. So we're going on a retreat. We're leaving on Thursday night. We're getting there. We're checking in on Friday. It's at the Fuzzy Goat. We've talked about it a couple times on the podcast. It's a knitting retreat, and I'm very, very excited. So I'll put some more information in the show notes and stuff like that. But I've done several. I've talked about it a few times. So anyway, it's coming up this weekend. So we're very excited. Okay, this is not the Linus podcast. This is not the Linus show.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay, so let's talk about our works in progress. And I have lots of works in progress, but there's only one that I've worked on since our last Would you focus? Linus, you are distracting your father, Daddy John, from paying attention. Okay, John, so you've worked on more than I have since the last podcast. So
maybe.
Can you,
sure.
The last episode, why don't you talk about your scarf?
He is a camera hog. He's taking up like all of the space. Anyway,
he'll lay down in a minute.
I know. So, all right. So this is my scarf, and
okay, we're gonna get a cat butt on the
camera. That'll make it an adult podcast.
In SFW.
So here is my scarf, the basket weave scarf. It's gotten a lot longer.
And tell us why.
Because right now my work is doing a bunch of meetings throughout Greater Minnesota.
What I think I'll do, I'm sorry for interrupting. I think what I'll do, at work, our boss got onto us for interrupting each other during meetings, and so now I realize how much I actually interrupt people.
Thank you.
But it's important. So what I'm going to do, because it's okay to interrupt someone if it's important, right? I think what I'm going to do this time is, rather than me getting up and going up to the camera and holding it up, what we'll do is Swarovski. What we'll do is we'll get up. I'll get up we'll film little inserts over top of us. So tell us what you were saying about.
So we're doing a bunch of these meetings throughout the state of Minnesota, and we are driving there and back
for your job.
For my job, yeah. And so the nice thing about it is I'm not driving to them because other people are driving. So I get to sit in the passenger seat and work on this. So.
I just think that's so awesome.
I think I've done about this much last week. So I am now very optimistic about finishing this scarf. So it's going to be, this is about a third of how long it's going to be. Maybe a little bit less. I mean,
that's right, because you said you were going to have 15 squares.
No, 16, and this is 16 squares, so it's like this is 5, so this times 3 plus 1. Whatever. Yeah. So I'm actually optimistic about finishing this, which I'm super excited about.
Those colors are just so great. I'm surprised that you picked them out, being that you're colorblind and all.
You know, I have a disability.
You know, I'm also wondering if this will get bigger
if we block it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping, because it's a little narrow, little tight.
But it'll be nice. And so this is Malabrigo yarn.
Yep.
We've mentioned the names of the stuff before,
it's like
but it's
something
like
and something.
Cloud. The purple is like cloud something, and
like
then the green
river.
is like ivy or something.
Sure.
But anyway, yeah, do you know what do you have any of the ball bands in there?
No, they're upstairs.
Okay, I'm just wondering what do you remember, is it like 100% wool or?
No.
Okay, whatever. You never pay attention to that stuff.
I don't. It's pretty yarn. So the other thing I'm liking about this...
That's okay, my friend Sonia never pays attention to that.
Is that it's also teaching me how... So, oh my god, this is... So, the other day, so when I was knitting the car, so you have to cable, right? Mm-hmm. So that means you take some stitches, put them on a cable needle, and then
Can we take this out?
oh yeah.
Okay.
So put them on a cable needle like that, and then you hold them back or behind, and then do. And so what I'm learning is how many mistakes you can make while cabling. So
how all the different kinds of mistakes.
exactly, and how I don't care. So for example, I had one, and this is probably going to make sense if you've cabled before. So I was doing a right-leaning cable, I think, or whatever the one which you bring the cable to the front of the yarn, and I pulled it out of the way and didn't realize I had taken the stitches and twisted them around. So it's, you can sort of see it. One of my cables has like this weird twist to it. So
we'll insert that, and then
yeah,
I also want to. There's the other one that you made that's a mistake, but it's actually a really cool mistake.
Yeah, the one where I went the wrong way. So I also, for one of the cables, so basically it's a zigzag that makes a basket weave pattern, and for one of the cables I forgot to. I brought it to the back when I should have gone to the front, and so what it did is create a sort of long cable throughout. So
I really think it's cool.
I think it's really cool too, and it's also giving me the nice thing about it is like, so there are a ton of mistakes in this, like tons, but like it's gorgeous. Yeah, I'm liking it. I'm learning how to. I'm getting very very fun, and I think it will actually be ready in time for winter, which I'm always not sure about that. So you're gonna just hold this up and show beautiful things about it when I talk.
Yeah, at the end we'll do some inserts.
Swarovski elegance.
Where now? So we'll put the details about the pattern. But how did you find this pattern?
Did
you search, or how did
I
you
did
find
like
this
a search for on Ravelry for cable scarf, and went through a bunch of them, and this looked like
because you wanted to learn how to cable. That was the
I
goal.
knew how to cable.
Oh, okay.
Because I already did it for my little cowl.
Oh, that's right. Your cowl.
But I wanted to really, because I like cabling a lot. I think it's really fun. But I wanted to do something that was really cable intensive. So now I feel very, very comfortable with cabling. So that's very kind of one of those fun things. So it doesn't freak me out anymore.
Yeah.
Although
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Although I'm a little.
I want to show your bags.
Yeah. So I'm also a little. It's also just one of the reasons I like to pick projects is to learn something new and also get comfortable with the technique. And so now cabling just, even though it still doesn't make any sense why if you bring the cable to the back it goes one way and the front it goes the other, I don't understand that.
Right.
Like why?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's magic.
I know. So I'm learning to trust that, and it's okay. But
Maybe because you're going. I don't know.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Somebody will know.
Why?
So it's in his Daisy Girl and Company bag, and it's got a little window on it. We bought this. It was part of a kit during the shop hop.
Oh, it was
in the fall.
It was for the
owl.
The owl hat that I have not started,
right?
And probably I might do it.
You will. You were going to do it as a gift for somebody, and it'll be a quick knit.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I only have one project that I've really been working on, and I left it over there. I was actually working on this from the time that right up till the time we were knitting, recording. So, it's in my Mr. Indigo's bag that I love. It's got a blue polka dot inside, and it's, my mom bought me for my birthday. Biddy Ann bought me for my birthday yarn that matches this that I've shown before. It's really cool. So this is my buy it shawl that I'm knitting for a friend of mine, and here's where I'm at. Yeah, if you could hold that end and then pull it towards you so we can get it on. There we go. So it's got a lifeline in it, so it doesn't flow down the needles as much, but pull it towards you a little bit. Okay, there we go. So I'm very, very happy with the way it's turning out. You guys I've featured or talked about this in probably every podcast that we've had. It's my first shawl. I'm not the fastest knitter. Can you hold it up so it stretches a little bit? Oh. So I'm not the fastest knitter, but I really, really like it. And I've been knitting other things while I've been doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm being monogamous with this right now until it's complete because I want... That's so funny.
Monogamous?
That's what people say. That's what knitters say. They knit monogamously.
I'm in an open relationship with a lot of my projects.
Yes, you are. I put a lot of my other projects in the naughty pile.
That's
But anyway.
So you're being a serial monogamist.
Yes, exactly. So I want to complete.
So
this.
if we both work on something, we're swinging.
Yes. Yeah, this is hilarious, I know. So anyway, what's left on it is at the top there's a lace pattern. And so I've never knit lace. It's my first lace project, and so I've done 2 rows, I think, in the lace pattern. There's a few rows in the gold of, I forget what it's called. Garter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Garter stitch, yeah.
And then up here, and then I've started the lace pattern. So what I've learned about lace so far. So I was terrified to do lace because I don't know what the actual definition of lace is, but it's like the delicate looking knitting that has holes in it.
Time out. So, we just watched we ordered this from like Warner Brothers Home Video. Lace, the miniseries from the 80s with Phoebe Cates.
I want to know if anybody knows about it. 'Cause you find the weirdest stuff.
Because I remember watching it. It was on TV when I was in like 6th or 7th grade, and it was super scandalous. Like, it was all, if you were cool, you had watched Lace. Because it was all like sexy. Anyway, so we watched, we went to sleep.
Yes, I did go to sleep.
I watched it from the beginning.
It was fun, but I don't have the same connection to it that you do.
Yeah. Anyway. Time in.
Okay. So, I do want to know if anybody else watched it.
Right, and
Heard of it.
I read the book. That's how obsessed I was when I was a little kid.
This is
It's
a lot.
a dirty book.
So anyway, I was terrified of doing lace because I wasn't sure, like, with tension and like how you make the holes and how do you make a hole this size and not this size, and things like that. So so when I started, I knit, and then I got to the end of the row. It's like 260 some stitches at this point, and I got to the end of the row and I was off, and I'm like, okay, everybody told me put in a lifeline before you start, and I forgot to do a lifeline, so I got to tink back, unknit 260 some stitches and start over, and then I put in a lifeline, which at that point it's kind of too late, but I put in a lifeline anyway, and I finished that row correctly. Then so on this pattern you have to do the lace pattern with the yarn overs and so this one basically the only thing in this pattern is a yarn over and a slip knit 2 together pass, which is a specific type of stitch. That's really what creates the holes in the lace stuff. But what's my point? Oh, you have to do a row of the lace, and then you coming back you have to purl. So I have, what was it I said, like 15 or 16 rows of purling.
Can't you just knit on the wrong side?
I don't know how to do that, and I'm okay. I'm okay with
because you were talking about how much you were like not thrilled about doing that much purling.
Yeah, but I went ahead and I've done 1 row of the purling, and I actually kind of got into the rhythm of it, and I've never really had a pattern that's tons and tons of purling, and I just want to do it because I feel like that's something that you do it repetitively and you're going to get faster at it.
Sure.
So that's what I want to do. But so it's coming along. Part of the problem is I don't know how to read. So I'm very much a knitter who reads my knitting constantly. And what is funny about that?
Me, because my next project is about how I didn't read the knitting.
Oh. So I do a lot of reading of my knitting because I like to constantly, as I'm going along, make sure that I'm in the right spot and that I'm doing the right thing. And it's like, as you can tell with this pattern, you've got this huge grid, what I call a grid section, which if you get off on that, it's going to be very obvious because it's a grid, and if it's shifted over, it's going to be very obvious. So I'm constantly reading my knitting to see where I'm at and make sure that I'm in the right spot. And I don't know how to do that with lace yet. I think I figured out how to read the yarn overs from the row below. But yeah, I'm still figuring that out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those things where I just have to keep going. Well, and the other thing is that each row, the other thing that I'm not used to, and maybe this is typical of lace, is that it's not the same from row to row. So everything else in this shawl I memorize. So the obviously this is just garter stitch, and then up here the grid section, it was like a 4-row.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was a 6-row repeat. So I memorized this. Well, now I'm up to the lace, and I'm like, I got to the point where I had memorized, yarn over, knit, slipped, blah, blah, blah. And I did that, and then I purled back, and then I got to the next row, and I'm like, oh, crap, it changes every row.
Mm-hmm.
So, you do learn, because it's 260-some stitches at this
Mm-hmm.
point, by the end of the row, you're memorized, but... yeah, I'm loving it still, and I don't have that much more to go before I'm done with it, so I'm very excited.
How many rows is the lace?
Well, you have to do the chart, which is 14 rows,
Mm-hmm.
and then you do the chart once, and then it says to repeat the chart rows 5 through 14 twice.
Oh.
Then you do a garter stitch edging, which is like 3 rows, and then you do a cast off.
So the lace part's not very long.
Right.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason on the pattern it looked a lot longer.
Well, that's the grid.
No, but that looks a lot longer.
Well, but see, it's just
two
That's
things.
all it is right there. Cool. Sorry, everybody. Well,
Yeah, no.
I can't show this because it's a written pattern or
Right.
paid for pattern. But
So very cool. I didn't know you're that close to being done.
yeah. So this
Fantastic.
is the Buy It shawl by Carrie Westerman, and it's named after A.S. Byatt. She's a British author from
Mhm.
what time period?
She's contemporary.
Oh, contemporary. Oh, I
But
didn't
she
know
writes
that.
all of her stuff tends to be Victorian-y and stuff like that. Or have Victorian overtones.
Cool.
So
I am excited because I'm taking this with me to the retreat, and we'll finish it. We've got to fly from Minneapolis to Atlanta,
oh, and I can drive.
or we could trade off.
Okay.
It's a 4-hour drive. So where we're going for the retreat is Thomasville, Georgia, which is near Albany/Leesburg, Georgia, where I grew up, and we have to fly from Minneapolis to Atlanta, which is I think it's like a 2.5-hour flight. I fly it all the time. I don't know. I can't think of it. I think it's like a 2.5-hour flight. And then we're going to rent a car and drive from Atlanta to Thomasville. And we could have probably flown into Tallahassee, Florida, because it's not even an hour.
It's really expensive.
But flying into
Tallahassee
Tallahassee is expensive.
Yeah.
So lots of travel time to do knitting.
Yay.
Yeah, so we will have... Oh, and for those of you who watch Cody Knits podcast, Nurse Cody... Blah, blah, blah.
Nerdy
Nurse
Kits.
Cody... Nerdy Kits. Cody Knits.
Sorry.
Sorry, Nurse Cody. He is going to be there, and so that's very exciting. Get to meet him.
I know, it'll be really, really strange.
Yeah, but he started... For those of you who watch and know who he is... watch his podcast. He's started he's a nurse practitioner at an oncology practice, or
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a practice or if it's an actual oncology hospital type thing. I think it's Cancer Centers of America. So, but anyway, he's a nurse practitioner. He started his new job. He's getting a new apartment, all that kind of stuff. So things are going really well for him right now. All right, let's talk about your sweater.
All right, sweater. So
remember how we were like, oh, this is going to be like a 15-minute podcast?
Oh no, it's
because we have no knitting to talk about.
Yeah, no, we manage.
We're like 30 minutes into it now.
All right, so the sweater, yay, is still coming along. I don't know how this is. I think I've got another maybe 12 inches left to go. No, it's supposed to be 18 inches tall. This is probably, I don't know.
Because 18 inches from your waist to your arm, where you put the arms
Yeah.
on? Okay.
So we're almost there. I noticed, so all these little
I mean, that's up to you.
Yeah, I know. But it seems, well, I'll measure it. I'll put it on on.
I think you do have somewhat of a longer torso. You
Right.
certainly have a longer torso than me.
Right. So we'll check that out. And so the reason we have these stitch markers on there is because I was like, well, maybe I should count how many stitches I have. And of course, I did, and somehow
Sorry.
What?
It's just like, I dropped 14 stitches and added 12.
Well, whatever, I might have, but I had somehow added 7 stitches. Shut up, no one likes you.
It's got a lace pattern. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, dear. Keep going.
You're in trouble.
You happen to add 7
stitches.
Okay.
7 stitches. So I'm actually, right now, I'm doing a little reduction. So I'm decreasing every other row. And once I'm at the decreases, I'm going to see if this
And
actually...
you're just doing a knit 2 together to decrease.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing fancy. And then I'm going to put it on yarn and see if it actually fits me or not, because I'm a little worried.
Then you got to do the tubes.
The tubes, whatever, same difference.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to see what it looks like, and then figure out how many more inches I need to do it.
I mean, because you could put it on tubes now and try it on.
Yeah, but I want to make sure I'm not at the decrease.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's going really well. You know, it's just keep on keeping on.
So is that in the
What?
yarn, that green and that red?
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. I mean,
Yeah.
it's got a lot more color depth in it than I realized. It's, yeah, cool.
Yeah, for just random, you know, it's
Inexpensive
Lion's
acrylic
brand yarn.
Yeah.
It's not acrylic.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
It's wool ease, which is like 5% wool and 95% acrylic.
Oh. Oops. And so the other thing...
I mean, I'm exaggerating.
But
I don't
it's,
want the
it's,
Lion Brand company to sue
No,
me
but
because, you know,
it's-
I'm sure they watch
it's
this.
not all... It's not... Okay, I would have thought with the name like Woolies it'd be all wool.
No, I mean, it might be like 20%. Whoops, sorry. 20% was it there bold
I
in
don't
here?
remember. No, probably not. You know me. I don't keep that stuff
I
around.
don't know. Yeah. So yeah, I think it is like 20% wool or something
Sure.
like that.
It feels... It's got that roughness, though. Like,
Mhm.
usually acrylic feels very slippery.
Right.
So,
I think that's why they do it, is so it has a real wool feel, and
Yeah.
so that it has a little bit of
give
spring to it,
Spring.
like wool.
negative ease? No. What do you call that? Negative tension?
No, it's negative ease is when it sucks in when you
Okay.
take it off, and positive ease is when it's
Right.
blouses out.
Okay. Anywho, so this is going well. Then I've been doing...
And I think ease has more to do with, I don't know. I'm still learning all that.
Whatever. I don't know if I remember... In the past,
In the past.
I was working on the sleeve. And this is all about reading your pattern.
Mm.
So I started the sleeve and got about, I don't know, maybe from like, if I was to do, this was my arm. So like, here's like, maybe gotten up to right about here. And realized that unlike the body of the sweater, you have to increase on the sleeve, which I had not been doing.
Yeah, you increase if you're going
Yeah.
from the. I mean, I only know this from watching podcasters,
Right.
but you increase if you're going from the wrist, and
Yeah.
correspondingly, if you're doing that way, you
No, absolutely. So it's just one of those things like I cast on, did my rib, and then I'm like, okay, I knit this for 18 inches. And so anyway, I ripped it out, and...
because you didn't do any.
No,
increases.
and I was like, I could have either done sort of my own increased pattern, but that seemed really... I mean, it's my first sweater, it's going to be janky, but I don't have to make it
You don't want to
jankier than it has to be. So I ripped it out, and now I'm going to do, Scott's going to teach me Magic Loop, which is, so I can do the sleeve. Wool
Right.
sleeves and Magic Loop.
Right.
So that is,
Because you were doing them in 9-inch circulars.
yes, which I was not, and so I've cast on, and so we've just got to, I just have to learn it because, again, like many things in the knitting world, Magic Loop makes no sense to me. But it's okay.
Yes.
It's supposed to work. So that's the sweater.
Well, and the thing that's cool about this is it's like, and it being your first sweater is like, when you, because I'm learning on my sweater. I mean, so I don't know if anybody remembers, but I'm also knitting a sweater. But
He's been cheating on his sweater.
I've been cheating on my sweater. You learn about the construction of a sweater.
Yeah.
You know, because I'd never. I didn't know what raglan increases were.
Right. Because yours is top down. So.
Right. So, you learn about raglan. One of the things that I did wrong in my sweater, and I'm not going to go back and start over, is that I did the raglan increases all the way down, and you're supposed to go a certain amount and then stop. It might be weird, but I mean, I can wear it around the house if it's super ugly. But like with you, it's like you learning that you need to do the increases on a sleeve. Like,
right.
You know that now. To look for that in a future sweater.
Right.
And if it doesn't have it, I don't know
well,
if you can do it without it because
no, because it has to go up and then it has to expand to be wider. So it's almost, it just for some reason I had in my mind that you knit the sleeve up to here and then you joined it and then you just knit a big circle all the way around, which I don't think you do.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was. I don't know. It's all good. That's what read your pattern, kids.
Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, I didn't think about that till now. How do you attach the sleeves?
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume you do Kitchener stitch.
I don't know. Well, so it's a ways away.
Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of different ways to do it.
There may be some tutorials.
There might be.
And I think
there's this thing called YouTube.
Right. And the pattern that I'm working off is a really good pattern. So I'm sure it explains it because it's this woman's first sweater pattern. So it's a well written pattern. It's on my Ravelry. So I just need to do that and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
So
okay. Cool. So that's what we've been working on. And so what we'd like to talk about now is our knit-along.
Yay.
Our very first knit-along. It's very exciting. So I'm going to start with some basic explanation of what a knit-along is because my mom tried to explain to me when I first got into knitting and watching all the YouTubers and everything, I was like, what is this knit-along? You hear people talk about KAL, which is K-A-L, which stands for knit along. And then there's also MALS, which is make along, where you can do things like David Dogdare did, what's the Bates Motel make along, where you could do any kind of craft, crochet, knit, or whatever. So, anyway, basically, there's different ways to do knit alongs. You can do, it's basically people all knitting either the same type of thing or the same theme, or they're all kind of knitting together in a period of time something similar. So sometimes there's a knit along around a specific pattern where everybody knits the same pattern. And I know many of you know this, but I for people like me who are watching this and don't know this is my understanding. There's obviously it's not a set in stone thing, but so then there's also like you can do it around a theme, or like the Grocery Girls have done one where it's a Canadian knit along or make along where if you do a pattern by a Canadian designer or Canadian wool or Canadian themed, so that's a Canadian make along. So but what we're going to do is around the type of garment. And so, I don't know if garment's the right word, but thing.
Thing.
So we're going to do a handwear
knit along.
Handwear knit along. So maybe it's a howl. No, a howal.
Handwear along.
Handwear along.
No, be a kahawal. Huakal, which sounds like we're doing some sort of weird, I don't know, what language that sounds like. Huakal.
I don't know. You're going to say something offensive.
I know. But I was going to
back out
that
of it.
Sounds like, oh wait, you probably shouldn't go there.
No. So we're going to do a knit along. And what prompted me to do this was Rick, who has Whimsy Stitches Designs is his shop. And I'll have all the details, and I've filmed an insert that I'll put in. But he contacted me on, I think it was Instagram, and said that he'd like to give us something that we could then use as a prize for this knit along. And so I was honored. especially because it was like the second episode or something like that that he reached out to me, and so I was very honored. And so I'll show the prize. We actually have 2 prizes now.
I know.
Which is very exciting.
We're not allowed to win, right?
No, we're not allowed to win. But we'll...
but I kind of... So luckily for one of them, we have...
We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
But you can... I'm doing all the blabbing, but when we get to that...
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. It's important.
Well, if it is, keep going. Keep talking. I doubt you have anything...
what is it when you just interrupt? Is that... That's important.
What?
We just interrupt. Not because it's important to say, just to interrupt the other person. Just being sure.
So anyway, he reached out to me. He asked me if we wanted something, and I was like, oh my gosh, let's do a knit-along. And so I've actually... I was going to say I've never participated in a knit-along. I have, but I've never finished...
On time, right?
On time, because mainly what I've done is the Grocery Girls sock knit-alongs. Mm-hmm. And I've never been able to finish a sock within a month, which I know sounds crazy, but I'm not a fast knitter, and I've just never done it. I actually did once, but I didn't take the pictures and submit it in time. So I finished it, but I didn't submit the picture. So speaking of that, let me talk
That's
about...
why ours is 2 months.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So let's talk about the details. So we're going to start on October 1st. Mm-hmm. And like you said, we're going to go for 2 months. So today it is September the 24th. So in about a week.
So can we start, if someone wants to start early, can they?
So that's a good point. Let me write that down. So
I'm gonna say yes.
Yes. So that's what that's called is allowing works in progress. Mm-hmm. So if somebody starts a mitten, let's say 2 weeks ago they started a mitten, a pair of mittens, and they
want to submit it.
They want to. Yeah, exactly. As long as you submit it within the time frame of October 1st to November 30th. And so typically you don't allow finished objects, like somebody can't pull out all the mittens that they've done over the years and post them. So it's something you've either in the middle of doing on October 1st or that you start on October 1st, or start as long as you finish before November 30th. So what I'll do is I will post on our Ravelry group, which is Sweet Tea No Shade podcast. I will start 2 conversations or 2 discussion threads. And I'm picking this up from having seen what other people do. One will be for posting pictures of your finished objects. So please try to only post pictures of your finished objects. You can submit as many as you want. Because it's handwear, we'll do 1 pair equals 1 entry. And what was I trying to say? So you'll post your pictures there, and then we'll randomly choose 2 winners from that. The second discussion thread will be what people refer to as a chatter thread, which is just where people can talk about, hey, I found this cool pattern, or questions, or just general discussion about the knit-along. And what else? Should we talk about the prizes?
Yes, we should.
So actually, let me take a step back. Before we do that, I'm gonna talk about let's talk about the patterns we're gonna do.
Okay.
So, why don't you go first?
All right. So my pattern I'm very excited about. I need to pull it up really quick. So 2 reasons I'm excited about it. Number 1, we were at the state fair, I think a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, that's right.
And
I forgot.
Oh my god. So they have an alpaca thing. So
it was a booth.
An alpaca booth.
So they Minnesota State Fair.
They have like animal sections where like chickens and geese and that are flurry.
What?
Ducks and geese and chicks better flurry. Anyway, but they help all of that.
That are gonna scurry.
Something like that. So they also have a little alpaca area. And so they had yarn in there. So I bought 2 things for 2 projects. I'll show you the first one. This one I'm not going to do. It's from 2 different local alpaca farms. And one is from this place called 5R Alpacas Farm. and they're in Clearwater, Minnesota. Scott
I don't
can.
think I've ever heard of Clear. Yeah, I'll put an insert so that everybody can.
So
look
what
at
I
this.
got, God, this just
I've never heard of Clearwater, Minnesota.
yeah, I don't know. So anyway, it is. God, it's so.
No, you can. I'll put an insert too. If you
Okay,
don't wanna stand
so
up, you can.
pretty and so soft. So I'm gonna make a hat out of this, and I'm gonna learn a color work. This will be it for future things. So it'll be a color work hat. I'm very excited about
Is
that.
that a 100% alpaca?
Sure.
Oh my gosh.
I hope so.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah.
It doesn't say, but I'm assuming.
Anyway, I'm very excited about that. It'll be super fun. Soft, luxurious.
Terry and Sharon Rassier. I'm
Mhm.
not 100% sure I'm saying that
Yep,
right.
yep. Yeah.
But it's 5R alpacas.
Yeah. So they had. So it was this little alpaca. They had, of course, had real alpacas hanging out that you could pet. But
They
more.
did?
Yeah.
What?
They had an alpaca there.
Where? Inside the
To
tent?
the side, yeah.
I'm so mad.
You
I didn't see the alpaca.
I don't know if it was there the whole time, but it was. They would bring it.
Yeah,
in
because
and out.
you spent more time over there than I
Yeah.
did because I was tired.
Yeah.
I had to go sit down. That's so cool. I didn't know they had an alpaca.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm very excited about that'll be my hat. But so what I'm doing, that's from the 5R alpaca. So then I got for my pattern, my handwear pattern, which is what I'm doing, is it's a. So what I'm making is. They're called Brawler Gauntlets. They're by, gosh darn it, okay. So they're called Brawler Gauntlets, and they're by a local designer who works at Stephen B.
Yeah.
named Michael Flodman. So I'm super excited about them, and this is the yarn I'm using. Just gonna be,
And I'm gonna put it over the top.
yeah,
You don't have
it's
to.
super pretty. But it's also alpaca. And I'm very, very excited. So I'm excited to both make the gauntlets because...
So let's go ahead. I'm sorry.
So the gauntlets, which are from Pure County Alpacas, LLC, in Prior Lake, Minnesota. So it's like a completely local...
Pure country.
Oh, what did I say?
County.
Oh, Pure Country.
Pure alpacas.
Yeah. I'm very excited because it's a local yarn, local alpacas, and a local designer.
Oh yeah, I never thought of that.
So, I mean, who I don't know because I only go to Stephen B and have bought stuff from him. But yeah, so I'm very excited about that. And again, the patterns look really, it looks really fun. And they're called Brawler Gauntlets. So how nerdy is that?
So, what is the brawler reference?
Brawler.
Oh, okay. So the one thing is you want to be careful about is you want to make sure. Okay, fingering.
Yeah.
Okay. You used to not pay attention to that.
I did, and remember, I had pictures. So I was going to the alpaca barn. I took screenshots of the patterns, so I got the right yarn for each one and how much I needed.
Perfect.
So I'll still do a.
And these are from Surrey alpacas, which it's 100% Surrey alpaca. I don't know if that's a breed or
I don't know, but it's super fun. And the nice thing about it is you can reorder this. So in case I run out before I'm done, I can order more. So I'm excited about that. So anywho, that's my.
Yeah, the one thing about that I've not done
Mm-hmm.
this, because I haven't, but there's dye lots that you have to pay attention to. I don't think it would matter with this because it's
so different.
I think the term is tonal, where you can
Mhm.
see variations in the orange.
Yeah.
But when you're doing a sweater or something,
Yeah.
and let's say you do a different dye lot, it can
Mhm.
end up a different orange or whatever.
Right.
But I don't think you'll have that.
No, and I think I bought more than enough yarn according to the pattern.
Yeah.
So, super excited about that. Yeah.
Cool.
And it has a cable. So.
Oh yeah,
Yay.
yeah. So the other, so what I'm doing 2 patterns or 2. My goal is to do 2.
Really?
Hey, these things are going to take no time at all.
Such a show off.
Just trying to show you up.
I know.
Well, here's why I'm trying to do 2. One is I'm trying to get rid of a kit that I bought. Not get rid of, but
Oh, you're doing that one.
yeah, I want.
Fun.
I want to do one that's a kit, but there's another pattern that I've been dying to do that I also want to do. So
Okay.
this one is, they're called the sapling knits, and I'll insert a thing, but one of the first things I ever bought when I got into knitting was this kit, and it's got the yarn for.
Did we buy the yarn hop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Which we never
amazing
finished.
threads. Yeah, we never finished talking about the different stars. That was like our first or second episode.
Sorry, people who we visited on the next day.
We'll go to future yarn hubs and we'll talk about them. So anyway, it's got, and I will have put in a picture over the top of us, but it's got this. It's called, well, it's Dragonfly Fibers, which I don't know much about Dragonfly Fibers. I'll have to look them up. And anyway, they're the ones who made the yarn, and it's Buttermilk and High Garden, which are the two colors. So it's a cream and a green. And then it's got kind of a, I don't know if it's two different options or if it's two different patterns, but the pattern wasn't part of the kit, I just realized. So I'm going to have to go on Ravelry and buy the patterns. But the pattern is from Twist Collective. But I like I said, I'll put a pattern or a picture of the
Oh,
top.
so you could do either. You could do. There's two. One's sort of a zigzag, and there was like more of a tree.
Yeah, and I think I'd probably do the tree one just for fun.
Yeah,
just
that
to be
looks
different.
awesome.
The other one is the Fiddlehead Mittens, which I will put a picture in, but it's... Have I shown you those?
Maybe.
Okay, so those, I want to do those really badly.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing about these is that the design is cool, but it's...
Different colors.
Well, you start... Well, you don't have to. Like, you can see some people didn't and stuff, but I think what I want to do is like a solid color for the swirls, and then a... what's it called when you go from one color to another?
An ombre?
Like an ombre thing for the background.
Oh, so like kind of reverse what they did. So this one, or the one we're looking at, does the ombre for the swirls. But you
that's not a true ombre. That's just different colors. The ombre would be like actually slowly fading from one to the other.
So you use like yarn that has like goes into two different colors.
An ombre yarn, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but the thing I like about, and I'm excited about this pattern, is that you knit, so what you do is you do a provisional cast on, which is where you do a crochet chain.
Oh, that's on the inside, right?
Yes. And so you knit the outside with a sturdy yarn, and then you pick up the stitches and knit the mitten again in reverse in a soft yarn, so that you tuck it inside, so you have a sturdy on the outside, soft on
Oh, that's
the inside.
fun.
And I'm going to use that Blue Sky Fibers alpaca
For the inside.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's my plan. So prizes. Let's talk about prizes. So, like I said, Rick was the first one to reach out to me and say, "Hey, I'd like to give you something," and I will insert pictures. But before I do that, I'll just hold it up here so it's the coolest little bag. It's a kind of a sock-sized bag. It's got a nice handle on it with an actual clip, and then it's a drawstring, and it's. I've seen, peekaboo windows like in your bag, but this is all the way around.
Right.
It's plastic, and he sewed the plastic, which
I think is the thing which is nice about that. Then you can look into it and see like whether you've forgotten to put a like, so I always pick up my yarn, my bags, and I'm like, oh, what do I have in that? To dig all around it and see what's in there. So the peekaboo all the way around, you can sort of like see, like, did I put?
And it's got like a box bottom, so it expands, so it's got plenty of room in it. So I will insert some pictures over the top of it. But while I've got the pictures floating over the top of my head, he included a card, which was nice. I like a card where he wrote us a note, and then he said it's his Clearview project bag, great for sock knitters and any single skein project.
Okay.
So he's got an Etsy shop, and he's Rick, and he's the chief zoologist. Whimsy Stitches Designs, and he lives in New Orleans. It says whimsystitches.com, but I think he's on Etsy too.
Right, and it's whimsy spelled
WHIMZEE Stitches. But I'll put all that on the screen and in the show notes and all that. So that was just super nice. He was the first person to reach out and do that. So that's really exciting. But then we also got contacted by. So the other prize is from Missy from Minnesota on Instagram, and that's also her Etsy shop.
And she lives.
But she lives in North Carolina.
That's right.
Yes, she's from here, and I think that her name is Linda and her nickname is Missy. That's what I'm assuming because her name is Linda, but her Etsy shop and on Instagram and everything, she's Missy from Minnesota. So, on our Etsy shop, she makes project bags and sachets and
What are
tote
sachets?
bags. Sachets are like, you can hold like lavender, little dry,
Okay, gotcha.
smelly stuff. But she makes tote bags and all that kind of stuff. And I'll go back to the other person in a minute. But so anyway, she donated to us. I saw that she has this bag in her shop right now, I think. But it's
a sweater bag.
It's two sweater size bags. She actually gave us one to keep, and so we're going to use the second for a prize. And Linus, you are not helping. Anyway, so two sweater size bags. What we're gonna donate one, or we're gonna use one as our other prize, and so it's I'm gonna have inserted pictures over top here, but it's got a nice little tassel, a really nice zipper. It's got a really cool inside bag. It's got different, I think it's whiskeys, different whiskeys in a box bottom. So and all of that. So yeah, so I'm excited for our prizes. I mean, it's very, very generous of people to give stuff that they would normally sell,
that we would normally buy.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I forgot to mention is that in Rick's Whimsy Stitches, I believe he also makes cards, or this is a Whimsy Stitches card, but the artwork on the cover is from Kristen on Instagram, Farns5. So Kristen Farnsworth is her name, is the artist who did the artwork on the card. So, but he makes all kinds of stuff and that really, really cool stuff. And there's like, some sci-fi. I think there was like Star Wars themed stuff.
What?
And I think so. I looked at his shop. Betty Ann and I were looking through his shop. It's been about a week or so, and I have a horrible memory. But he's got a really cool set of things in his shop as well. So we're going to give those away, and so we'll close the threads on December 1st in the morning, and then we will pull our winners, and go from there.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
So. The other thing I wanted to talk about is I got some stuff. One is a gift, and the other was one that I bought. And I don't remember if I talked about this before. So, Kate Celine is on Instagram and has an Etsy shop, and she's a British dyer, and she. I'll put some information about her in, obviously, but it was a surprise sock kit, and it was like Disney themed, different Disney movies, or Disney princesses, I don't remember. So anyway, I got the Moana, because I love the Moana movie, and so I just thought it was a super cool yarn. So I'll be making some socks out of that, I'm sure. And then the other, my friend, our friend Eric, Eric actually sang in our wedding. He went to his high school reunion in Bozeman, Montana, and he found out that one of his high school friends owns a yarn store in Bozeman called Sticks, Inspiring Yarns for Creative Hands. It's on Main Street in Bozeman, Sticks Yarn. And so he bought us a couple skeins of yarn from her store. I think that must be for the other one. So they're the yarn Western Sky Knits. And they're beautiful. They don't necessarily go together. He just bought them. So this one's kind of blue with, and I'll put pictures in, but it's blue with cool speckles on it. And then the other one is kind of a bright, all kinds of different fun colors. Greens and pinks and purples and oranges. And so the blue one with this, I just absolutely love this. It's Aspen Sock with Nylon is the line of yarn. And it's 80/20 merino nylon. And it is, well, like I said, Western Sky Knits, and it's hand dyed by Kim Voldseth in Lenape, Montana. And so that's beautiful. And then the other one is, the colorway is Isabella. Did I say what the colorway? Mountain Stream. I don't know if I said that. And so the other skein is the same yarn, the same blend and everything, and it's Isabella. Yeah. So it was very nice of him to buy that. And so so it's just really cool to get something from another part of the country. So so these are also fingering weights. I'll probably do socks, or if I do some kind of fingering weight shawl or something like that.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's stuff that I picked up recently, and so I think that's about it.
It's gonna be a short one.
Yeah, it's only going to be an hour. Oh wait, all of our podcasts are an hour. We're like,
Our last one was an hour and like 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, I guess it was a little longer.
Oh, we don't have a Betty Ann update, do we?
No, I didn't. No.
But don't worry.
We will
next
definitely have a
next
Betty Ann
next
update.
one will have a whole weekend of Betty Ann update.
Yes.
So, anything else we should
I don't think so.
talk about?
We will. Next time when we are back, we'll have started the cowl and the knit along, and then we will have
stories
stories from the retreat.
Yeah.
And hopefully videos from the retreat.
Yes.
And lots of video. We'll have a section probably from Thomasville. And I haven't forgotten, I'm going to do a baking segment. Everybody was nice to have feedback and say, yeah, that'd be something we'd be interested in, and then I haven't done it. So I haven't actually, I think because it's the end of the summer and stuff, I haven't done any baking of any kind.
And we also ruined our oven.
Oh, right.
It's fixed now, but we had
a fire inside the oven, and I decided to pull the thing that was on fire out of the oven onto the glass front door, and then pour cold water on the fire to put it out, which then
shattered the inside.
Shattered the glass.
So, in all fairness, I started the fire.
Yeah, it was a joint effort.
And then Scott put it out. So we both bear blame. But we, well, you did. We ordered new glass and replaced it. So we didn't have to buy a new oven. Yeah, which was nice.
Yeah. So thanks everybody. We really appreciate everybody that watches and the comments and stuff. I didn't do a lot of talking about people's comments this time.
All right.
Bye everybody.